Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. There are 10 squares in total, so each square is worth 1/10. And if we count all of the shaded squares, we notice that in total there are 7 shaded squares. So that's 7 lots of 1/10 or 7/10. The formula for the area of a rectangle is the width times the length. The width is 3 and the length is 5, therefore the area will be 15. The units of the width and the length are both centimetres, therefore the units will be centimetres squared. So I'm going to start just by copying this question. When we're told to solve, it means we need to find out what x is, and there's a nice little strategy to be able to do that. And the first thing we do is just draw lines left and right of the equal sign. And we look at the left hand side and work out what is stopping x from being on its own. Well, this minus 10 here is stopping x from being on its own. So we need to get rid of that somehow. And we do that by doing the opposite of it. So what is the opposite of take away 10? Well, that's going to be plus 10. But you can't just do that to the left hand side. You have to do the same thing to the right hand side. So on the left hand side now, we're left with just x because we've got rid of that take away 10. And on the right hand side, we do 6 plus 10, which is 16. So our solution is x equals 16. So for this question, we need to convert the percentage to a decimal. So to do that, we get that 8.9%, and we just divide by 100. And so that will give us 0.089. And so we get that 0.089. Of normally means times in maths, so we're just going to times that by 457, and that will give us 40.67. Congruent means that it's a shape that is exactly the same as another shape, but it can be rotated, translated, can be flipped around, but it's basically the same shape. So I imagine cutting it out onto cardboard and trying to fit it into the other shape. If it can fit, then they are congruent. So looking at the shapes, we've got some triangles, we've got some weird looking shapes, but I'm going to look at A, and I'm going to draw A in. So I'm just going to trace A. And what we can notice is if I manipulate that now, and if I bring it down to E, it kind of almost looks the same as E, but what I can do is actually just reflect it, and it's exactly the same as E. So A and E are congruent. Here we have a triangle, and we've got an angle of 48 degrees. We've got this right angle, which is 90 degrees, and we're looking for x. So what we need to do is we need to realise that the 3 angles will add up to 180 because it's a triangle. So what we're going to do to find x is just subtract the 2 angles which we know. So we're going to subtract the 90 degrees plus the 48 degrees from 180. And in brackets we're just going to say the reason, and it's angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So when we do that, we do 180, take away 90 plus 48, and you get 42 degrees. We're going to start off by writing the numbers that the dots are at. So we've got minus 12 and we've got minus 5, and x is anywhere between those. Now, it's obviously going to be greater than minus 12, and it's going to be less than minus 5, but it can equal minus 12, and the reason for that is it's a filled in dot, but it can't equal minus 5 because that is a hollow dot. So I'm going to write this question again, just a bit bigger, so we've got a bit more space to work with. And one of the rules in solving is to get rid of any brackets or fractions. We don't have any brackets, but we definitely have a fraction. We've got this over 7. Now over basically means divide. So to get rid of it, what we're going to do is times both sides by 7. So on the left hand side we've got this 2x. On the right hand side we've got 12 times 7, which is 84. Next thing we need to get rid of is this 2. Well, that's a times 2, so the opposite of times 2 is divide by 2. So we've got x equals 84 divided by 2, which is 42. So we have an original amount, and this represents 100% of the original amount. The new price, new amount, represents 113% because it has said that it has gone up by 13%. So it has increased by 13%. And as a value, that increase is £1,287. So it's 13% of the original. It's gone up 13% of the original price. So what we're going to do is we're going to work out what 1% of the price increase is. Instead of 13%, we're going to work out what 1% is. And we're going to do that by dividing the amount by 13. And we get 99. So 1% represents £99. So 1% of the original represents £99. But the new amount is 113%. So we need to times the £99 by 113, which gives us £11,187. So the picture is now worth £11,187. Whenever you have angles on parallel lines, you always draw out the letter in which they create. So we could have a situation here where the two angles create a Z like this, and those will be alternate. They could create a Z like this. That would also be alternate. They could create a C, which looks like that, and that would be interior, co-interior, or allied, depending on your preference. There could be a backwards C. Again, that would be interior, co-interior, allied. Or they could look like an F. Now there are several Fs, about 4 Fs that they could look like. There's the F like this. There's the same thing but backwards. And there's the upside down versions. So you have the ones that go out this way. And the actual one we've got here, if I don't move that, the actual one we've got here which goes inwards like that. Seem to be moving things. Let's try that again. So with all the F angles, we know that they're corresponding. Now, how do we figure that out? How do we remember that? There's loads of different ways. The way I remember it is I remember corresponding for corresponding. I remember alternate for alternate, and then either co-interior, interior, allied, I just remember as the other one. So interior, I just remember as the kind of C one, the other one. And so with this question, we've got x is equal to 73 because of F angles, and I just remember corresponding. So the word I write down isn't obviously corresponding, but corresponding. And it sounds silly, but I've remembered that for all my years teaching. I used to get corresponding and alternate mixed up. That was the way I remembered it, and I've never had an issue with corresponding alternate angles again. So whatever method you have, just to help you remember which one to pick, obviously have a method in advance of the exam, and then when this question comes up, you'll be more than happy to pick the right one. With these questions, we've just got to go around and fill in what we can, and there's going to be some numbers like this one here we can't fill in yet, so we're going to have to be strategic in the order we do it. I'm going to first of all look here, and notice that the total of girls and boys is 29, the total of the boys is 18, so take away the 18 from 29 and we get 11. Next one I'm going to fill out is this one. Notice that the total for the green is 15, total for the boys who's picked green is 12, and therefore for the girls it's going to be 3. Then looking around, what's the next thing that we can fill out? We can fill out this one, because the total for the boys is 18, green is 12, blue is 1, therefore we've got 5 left over. Then we can fill out this one, 2 plus 5 is 7. Then we can fill out this one, so 2 plus 3 is 5, then plus another 6 would be 11, and then 6 plus 1 is 7. We've got to first of all work out how many parts there are altogether in our ratio. So we've got 51 saying yes, 7 saying no, and 13 undecided. So altogether, we've got 51 plus 7 plus 13, which is 71 parts. Now each part is equal, so to find out the value of one part, we're going to do how many students there are, which is 2,911, and divide it by the 71 to find out what one part is worth, how many students are in one part. One part's worth 41 students, so each one of those parts in the ratio is 41 students. Now yes, because it goes yes, no, undecided, yes will be the 51 there. So it's 51 lots of 41 students. 51 parts with each part representing 41 students. And when you multiply those together you get 2,091. So our answer is that 2,091 students responded with yes. Bearings questions are normally written as find the bearing of destination from a location. So you can see in this question here that the answer is 275. So the line they're taking it from is this line here, this north line, and they're looking at this bearing here. So we currently are at B, and we're looking at the angle of A. So it is the find the bearing of A from B would be the question. So we can see that the first 4 of these have already been plotted. Now it's really important that you you do the coordinate the right way around. So the first one is number and then algebra. So we're looking at this coordinate here. We're 18 on number, which would be here, and then 14 on algebra, which would be this point here. 12 on both, so 12 and 12 would be here, and then 21 and 17. So 21 and 17 would be roughly there. So we've got to first of all work out how many parts there are altogether. So oil has 21 parts, vinegar has 5, so altogether there's 21 plus 5, which is 26 parts. Now how many of those parts are vinegar? Well, vinegar is the second one, so it's going to be this 5. So vinegar has 5 out of the 26 parts, or a fraction would be 5 over 26. The difficulty with finding the perimeter of this shape is we do have some of the lengths missing, so we're going to find the lengths that are missing first and then we'll find the perimeter. So the one on the right here is going to be the same as the one on the left, so this is going to be 5.6. Same with the one on the left of the 2.4, so this will be 2.4 here. This length here is going to be slightly more tricky to work out. What we do is we work out the total length across, or the total width across, which is 9.8, and we take away the bits that we know. So we take away these purple lengths at the bottom. So to work out the length of the missing bit, we're going to do 9.8, and we're going to take away the 4.3 plus the 1.2. And then when we do that, we do 9.8, take away those bits, we get 4.3. So this missing bit here is 4.3. So to work out the perimeter, we're going to start at the top left of the shape and add up all the lengths as we go around the shape. So 9.8 plus 5.6 plus 1.2 plus 2.4 plus 4.3 plus 2.4 plus 4.3 plus 5.6. When you add all those up together, you get 35.6. It's a perimeter, which is a distance, so our units are centimetres. It's really important when answering this question that we're really methodical. So we're going to start off just looking at steak. And I'm going to start off with the S. And we're going to pair it with the first dessert, which is the I. Then we're going to pair the steak with the second dessert, which is the mousse. Then we're going to pair it with the third dessert, which is the fruit. So we're being really methodical. We've done all of the combinations with steak. And so we're going to look at burger next. And we're going to pair it with the first ice cream. Then burger. And we're going to pair it with the mousse. And then finally the burger we're going to pair with the fruit. As long as we do things methodically, we don't ever miss any. So a stem leaf diagram is just a way of showing raw data. This 1 here could either mean 10 or it could mean 1. In this case, we're using it to represent a 1, because if you look at the data, they're all either 1 point something, 2 point something, 3 point something, or 4 point something. So looking at the 1 point somethings, we've got a 1.1 there, and we've got a 1.4. Looking at the 2 points, we've got a 2.1, 2.3, 2.4, and 2.8. Looking at the 3s, we've got 3.8. And looking at 4s, we've got 4.2, 4.4, and 4.7. And so in our key here, we're just going to pick this number here. It doesn't actually matter which number we pick. And we say 1 line 1 means 1.1 centimetres. So the only options for the next card are for them to be higher, lower, or equal to 12. We already know that the probability for it being higher is 19% and lower is 28%. And all probabilities have to add up to 1, or in this case, because it's percentages, 100%. So to work out the probability that is missing, we're going to take away the 19% and the 28% away from 100% to see what's left. And that's 53%. To find the largest weight this package could have been before it was rounded, let's do a quick number line. And we're going to just do it between the 24 and what it would round to next. Well, it's to the nearest kilogram, so the next thing it would round to is 25. The cutoff point for rounding is here. And that's going to be halfway between 24 and 25, which is 24.5. And that is actually going to be our answer. Now, some of you who are astute might realise that 24.5 would round to 25, but theoretically the biggest it can be is going to be 24.49 recurring. Let's just draw that a bit better, 24.49 recurring. And that is actually the same as 24.5. In your exam, however, you can write 24.49 recurring and you would get full marks, but for brevity, I would definitely recommend writing 24.5. So I'm going to start just by writing out the equation, and I can put my lines in. Okay, we're asked to make x the subject, so we're going to first of all add 10 to both sides. In fact, I'm just going to move all this over a little bit so I've got a bit more space. Okay, so we're left with m plus 10 on the left hand side, and we've got 1/7 x on the right hand side. Now to get rid of the 1/7, what I can do is just times both sides by 7. So 7 brackets m plus 10 equals x. So x therefore would equal 7 brackets m plus 10, but it says expand your answer fully, so we're just going to expand the brackets, 7m plus 70. So we're going to first of all work out the curved surface area, which is just this bit here, not including the top and bottom. And the formula for that is 2 pi r h. And the h is this bit here, so it's 2 times pi times the radius at the top, which is 12, times the height, which is 19. And that gives us 1432.566, blah, blah, blah. Next we go work out the area of the circle at the top. So circle area. And the formula for that is just pi r squared. So pi times 12 squared, which will give us 452.389, blah, blah, blah. Now there are actually two circles, so when we work out the total surface area, so total surface area, we add the curved surface area to two lots of the circle surface area, or areas of the circle, because there's one circle at the top and one at the bottom, and that gives us 2337.344, blah, 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 and two decimal places, that is 2337.34. The first thing that we can actually work out for this Venn diagram is this part here. So it says 12 had a cat but not a dog. So the cat but not a dog is showed with this A here. So if 12 had a cat but not a dog, and in total 22 had a cat, we're going to do 22 take away 12, which is 10. So 10 had a cat and a dog. If 16 had a dog, and 10 also had a cat, that means that 6 had a dog. Let's make sure we fill these in. And if overall there were 31 people, and there were 12 who just had a cat, 10 who had a cat and a dog, and 6 who had a dog, that leaves 3 left over. So we're going to start by understanding that all lines form or can form an equation y equals mx plus c, with m being the gradient and c being the y-intercept. It says here the gradient is -2, so we've already got a bit of a head start with this, but we don't know what the y-intercept is. So we're going to use this first set of coordinates to work out what the y-intercept is. So y is -31 and x is 15. And we're going to use this to solve and find out what c is. So first thing I'm going to do is, well, just tidy this up. 2 times 15 is 30, so -30 plus c. And I'm just going to add 30 to both sides to get c on its own. So that would be -1 equals c. So c is -1. So we now know that the equation is y equals -2x minus 1. And we're told that the y is -37. And we're looking for the x value, which they've called w. So let's get our solving lines in. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is add 1 to both sides. And so it would be -36 equals -2x. I'm going to now times, or divide everything by -2. And a negative divided by a negative is positive. 36 divided by 2 is 18. And then obviously that gets rid of the coefficient of the x, so it's just x. So x equals 18. So the x value is 18 and the x value is the w value. So w is 18. The formula for the circumference of a circle is circumference equals pi times the diameter. In this question, we're given the fact that the circumference is 37.7 and we're asked to find the diameter. So if we put our lines in, all we need to do is divide both sides by pi. So we've got 37.7 divided by pi equals the diameter. And so that is, when you round, well, it's 12.00 blah blah blah. Round to the nearest integer, that would be 12 centimeters. And we can try it by typing in 12 times pi, and we get what would round to 37.7. So we're looking to write a formula for the cost in pounds of hiring a microwave for X amount of days. So the cost is C, so it's going to be C equals, and it says it's going to be 55 pence a day. Now, it wants the answer in pounds, so we need to convert this 55 pence into pounds. So that's going to be 0.55. And it's going to be 0.55 times the amount of days. Well, it says the amount of days is X. So it's going to be 0.55x. Then it says that there's just a one-off cost of £15. So you're going to have to pay £15 regardless. So we're just going to add 15 onto that. So the answer would be C equals 0.55x plus 15. We can't work out what x is straight away, but we can find this value here. And we know with Pythagoras we can find a third length if we've got other two in a right angle triangle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And a and b were labelled. C is always opposite the right angle. So it'd be 49 squared plus b squared equals 68 squared. And 49 squared is 2,401. And 68 squared is 4,624. So we are solving here, so let's get our lines down. And we're going to start by subtracting the 2,401 from both sides. So we've got b squared equals 2,223. Then we're going to square root both sides, and we've got b equal to 47.148, blah blah blah. Okay, we're now looking at the second diagram, and this time we're going to have A, we've got our B, and we're going to call X the C. So it would be A squared plus B squared equals C squared, but this time A is 39. B we are given as 47.148, we've just worked that out. And we're looking for C. In fact, we can call it X now. Okay, so we need to square that. So we do 39 squared plus 47.148 squared, and that will be 3,744 equal to X squared. And we'll just get our lines in because we need to square root both sides. And we get 61.188 blah 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 is equal to X. It says it wants it to two decimal places, so that will be 61.19. I'm just going to write the question out, so we've got a little bit bigger writing to play with here. And it doesn't actually matter which method you expand these brackets with. I'm going to use Smiles and Rainbows, so we multiply the 8 by the 10x, which will make 80x, and multiply the 8 by the 4, which will make 32. Now here we've got a minus 5 on the outside, so we do minus 5 times 8x, which is minus 40x, and minus 5 times minus 4, which is actually plus 20. And a lot of students will write take away 20 there, but that is a minus 5 on the outside of the brackets there. So it's minus 5 times the minus 4 there will give you a plus 20. Then 80x take away 40x, which will give us 40x. And 32 plus 20, which would be 52. So our answer would be 40x plus 52. To find solutions for quadratics on a graph, all you need to do is find out where the graph meets the x-axis. Okay, so the coordinates this graph meets the x-axis are here and here. and that would be minus 0.8 and 0.2, and they're also called roots. So we're going to first of all convert the 11 litres into millilitres. So we're going to do 11 times 1,000, which would be 11,000. Okay, so we're going to just draw a line, like a number line, and we're going to have the 11,000 in the middle. Now, what would be the next one down if we're looking at to the nearest 10 mil? So we're going to add a 10 mil on, which will be 11,010, and we're going to take the 10 mil away. So 11,000 take away 10 mil will be 10, 990. Now when we're looking at limits, with the upper and lower part of it, we are looking at halfway points. So halfway here and halfway here. So this halfway point will be 10,995, and the next one will be 11,005, and that's the halfway points. And so that is going to be our upper and lower bound. And we just need to say that V can be anything above the 10,995 and including that, and it can be anything below 11,005, but it can't include that, because if it did, if it was 11,005, it would have rounded up to 11,010. Acceleration is change in velocity over change in time. So change in velocity, where it starts at 0 and goes up to 150, so that would be 150, over the change in times. Well, the time starts at 0 and goes up to 5, so that's 5. And so 150 divided by 5 is 30. The velocity is in meters per second, the time's in seconds, so the units will be meters per second squared. So it's 30 meters per second squared. First thing we need to do is work out the volume of this prism, and it's a trapezium-based prism. So the volume will be the area of the cross-section, or area of the trapezium, times the length, how 3D the prism is. So trapezium is half A plus B H, and then times the length. Now A and B are the two parallel sides, which will be this one and this one, and then the H is the perpendicular line that hits both of them at 90 degrees, which is what perpendicular means, between the bases. So this will be the 25 meters here. So it's going to be half, and then we're going to add 1 and 5, times that by 25. The length is how 3D it is, so it would be that 10 there. So we're going to times that by 10, and that will give us 750. So it's 750 meters cubed. Now, there is a little formula we can make for the rate. So the rate of anything, for this, will be the volume gained over time. Now, with this question though, we're interested in the time it will take. It says how long will it take. So we're actually looking at the time. So it will be time equals the volume, which is 750, over the rate, which is 15. So 750 divided by 15 is 50. So it will take 50, and let's have a look. It says per minute. So it would be 50 minutes. To find the resultant vector, we just get the two vectors and we add the tops and add the bottoms. And it's a plus minus 13, so it's 9 take away 13. When we do that, we get 13 at the top and minus 4 at the bottom. So we're going to first of all draw a tree diagram for this information. You don't have to, but it is easier to understand what's going on. And so the first choice will be the first pick. It'll either be male or female. And the second choice will be the same, male and female. And looking at the questions, there are 3 male names in the hat and 5 names in total. So the fractions for the first one will be 3 over 5. If there's 3 male names, there'll be 2 females. Now, if we've picked a male name already, there'll be 2 left and 4 left in total. If we haven't picked a female, there's still 2 females, but there's 4 left in total. If we picked a female, there'd still be 3 males and only 4 left in total, but there'd only be 1 female left. 1 female name left and 4 left in total. Okay, we're looking for the probability that the genders of the names are different. So looking at the outcomes, the outcome here would be male-male, that's not what we're interested in. Here would be male-female, we are interested in. Female-male, we are interested in. And female-female, we're not interested in. So we're not interested in these ones. And the way that tree diagrams work is as you go along the tree, any fractions you go across, you multiply together to find the outcome. So this will be 3 over 5 times 2 over 4. And I realise I could cancel 2 over 4, but I generally cancel at the end. So 3 times 2 is 6, 5 times 4 is 20. We're going to do the same with the other root. So 2 over 5 times 3 over 4. So 2 over 5 times 3 over 4, 3/4. That would be 6 over 20. Now we're looking to see whether it was male and female or female and male. And the word or in probability means add. So it'd be 6 over 20 plus 6 over 20. And this is the probability of different. Which will be 12 over 20. Now 12 over 20 will cancel to 3 over 5, or 3/5. So we notice with the simultaneous equations, we've got the coefficients of the y's being the same. And so what we're going to do is just write out these equations again, just so we can see a little bit clearer about what we're doing. And for simultaneous equations, we're working downwards. So we're just going to show that with circles here. Don't forget the signs belong to the y's. Okay, now the thing we're looking at is the signs for the y's, because the coefficients of the y's are the same. Now, they're not quite the same because obviously one's plus, one's negative, but if they're the same sign, then what we're going to do is we're going to subtract. If they're a different sign, we're going to add. So S in same is S in subtract, D in different is D in add. Now looking at the signs, they're different, one's plus, one's minus, so we are going to add. And we're going to add going downwards, so we're working out the sums. And 7x plus 5x is going to be 12x. 5y plus minus, well the minus wins that, so it's 5y minus 5y is 0, which is good, we need it to be 0. And then we've got 43 plus 5, which is going to be 48. Get my lines in to solve it. So we're going to divide both sides by 12. And we get x equals 4. Now that is only one solution. We've got to find out what y is. So what we're going to do is we're going to substitute that 4 into the first equation. So we've got 7 times 4 plus 5y equals 43. Get my lines in. And 7 times 4 is 28. So the first thing I'm going to do is take away 28 from both sides. So we've got 5y equals 15, and then we're going to divide the 5 to find out what y is. So we've got y equals 3. Now we can check this answer by working out the second one. So we're going to do 5 times 4 minus 5 times 3, which is equal to 5. So what's happened here is that the company's increased the amount of sweets by 15%. So we're just going to focus on that and work out what the multiplier would be first. So they started off with 100% and they added 15%, and then therefore they ended up with 115%. And to find that as a multiplier, we get the 115 and divide it by 100, and that gives us 1.15. So that is the multiplier they used. Now, they used that multiplier on the original amount, and they times it by 1.15, and they got the answer of 69. But if we're working the other way to find out what they times by 1.15, we get that 69, and we divide it by the multiplier. So if we want to work out what the original number was, we divide it by the multiplier, and that gives us 60. So the answer will be 60. With these questions, it's normally easier to view these as two separate triangles. So we've got a small triangle here with 19 and 47. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this out. And we've got a bigger triangle here. And we've got well, we've got a bit of, we don't really know what any of the sides are just yet, but we can work them out. Okay, now we know that both of these triangles are similar, and the reason is they share an angle and the lengths at the bottom are parallel, so they will be similar, which means one's an enlargement of the other. And we are given some information in the question that the ratio of BC to DE is 1 to 6. So BC is this length here, and DE is this length here. So we're actually given the scale factor because we know that 1 times 6 is 6. So we know the scale factor is 6, and it's asking us to find length AD. And so the corresponding length to AD, which is this one here. So all we need to do is get that 47, times it by the scale factor, so times it by 6 to get to our value. So it's 282. It doesn't look like it, but we actually have a quadratic here, and the reason it doesn't look like it is because we don't have an x term, but as long as we have an x squared term and a number term, we definitely have a quadratic. And notice something about this second number. It's a negative version of a square number, and that will always be the case because this question is using something called difference of two squareds. And it's very, very simple to work out. What you do is you put down two sets of brackets, and you square root the first term, well, that's just going to be x, and you put the positive and negative versions of the square root. So we're going to square root 121, which is 11, so we're going to put plus 11 and minus 11, and that's it. Now, when we expand that, and we're just going to quickly expand that now to have a look, it's going to be x squared plus 11x minus 11x minus 121, and notice that the two x terms cancel each other out, which is why we don't have the x terms. So in this question we've got a right angle triangle and it involves two lengths and an angle, so it's going to be a trigonometry question. So we're going to start by labelling the sides. So we've got the hypotenuse opposite the right angle, opposite is opposite the marked angle, and the adjacent is between the right angle and the marked angle. Now notice the opposite doesn't have a number or a letter next to it, so we're going to cross that out, we're not interested in that. And we're next going to draw our triangles for SOHCAHTOA. So it'll be SOHCAHTOA. And we cross out the opposite, so we're not looking at a sine or tan, we're going to be looking at the cos. So it would be cos the angle, or cos x, equals A over h, and the angle is 37, so cos 37 equals 7.1 over x. Now, whenever you're in this situation, and we're just going to put our solving lines in because we're going to be solving this next, if I can press the right button, there we go. And whenever you're in this situation, what you can do is swap the left hand side, it has to be the whole of the left hand side, with the x at the bottom. You can just swap those over, and effectively what we're doing is multiplying both sides by x and then dividing both sides by cos 37. So when we swap those over, we get x equals 7.1 over cos 37. When you type that into your calculator, just make sure you close the bracket. If when you type in cos it opens a bracket, make sure you close the bracket before you ask your calculator for the answer, or press the equals button, and that would be 8.890 blah blah blah. And when you round that to 2 decimal places, it will be 8.89. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.